as it unfolds and your chance to talk about it. Kello News Talk 13.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. I am scrambling like crazy. Here we go. Some days are like this.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show. I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us
I get
informed.
so busy. Oh, this story. And it's like, I've got to be more disciplined and say, that's enough.
I don't believe
All right, here we go. Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Tuesday, May 6th. It is great to have you along this morning. There were a number of things. I've got so much stuff here that I found intriguing, and I hope you will as well. As usual, the president is making a number of different things happen. He is now talking about illegal aliens voluntarily self-deporting. That this would be less expensive than, having to detain people and then ship them out of the country. If they self-deport, it would be less expensive. Even if the United States pays them, it would be less expensive than having to go through the process of, okay, now so DHS announced a financial incentive program yesterday, providing illegal aliens with $1,000 only after they verified that they have self-deported to their home country, and they would have to remember that home mobile app that the Biden administration created, and then the Trump team has dramatically reworked it in terms of self-deporting. So this was announced yesterday. And before you laugh at it, several European countries, Germany, Denmark, are considering, they've announced similar policies. And they say it's worked. It's successful then in helping reduce illegal immigration. And so the president said yesterday in the Oval Office, he said, what we thought we'd do is a self-deport where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from. It's called self-deportation, he said. And then he also talked about Tom Homan, the country's borders are, also Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security. And he went after judges. He said, and that's not an uncommon theme with President Trump. He said it's a very difficult thing with the courts, because the courts have all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they've said maybe you have to have trials. We're going to have 5 million trials? Doesn't work. You wouldn't have a country left, he said. And he was talking about those judges that are preventing him from using the Alien Enemies Act. He said, hopefully the Supreme Court will save it. See, I think there are a lot of things riding on the U.S. Supreme Court. Trump has got the ball rolling, but it's going to be up to the U.S. Supreme Court. I believe this for a while. Are they up to it? I really don't know. Are they? Certainly, I know that there are some justices that absolutely are, but all of them? Is the court as a whole up to the challenge of saving the country as it exists right now? I'd rather not roll the dice, but it is what it is. So the self-deportation program now that the president announced yesterday, that's pretty fascinating. The president also doubling down on his proposal to reopen and expand Alcatraz. This was very much I think this was the talk of the day yesterday, was what the president has proposed here regarding the rock and how how expensive this could be. Is it feasible? This isn't, that prison has been closed for a number of years and it's extremely outdated. What kind of cost would be required then? It's a historic landmark. Would you, in order to be able to build a new prison there, would you have to demolish again what has really been a historic landmark? You demolish that and start over. These are the questions I think that people are asking. Where do we go from here? So he says, and I understand his thinking, he says the prison could be used then to house dangerous inmates. And what they're looking for, and the president's been very clear about this, what they're looking for is a symbol to everyone, to lawbreakers, to law-abiding Americans, that they want a symbol of, hey, we're not fooling around anymore. Those aren't their words, but they're looking for a symbol. And Alcatraz would be that symbol, I think. So as to whether or not that actually is doable, there are a number of stories on this this morning. BBC had one, could this happen? And then they go through the history of Alcatraz and when did it close. The Federal Bureau of Prisons said it was nearly 3 times more costly to operate than other federal institutions, was closed in 1963. So it's been closed as long as I've been alive. 1963 is when I was born. So, it's been closed 60 years. And, you've got the CEO of Golden Gate National Park says, Alcatraz is a place where the past meets the present. As to whether or not it could actually happen, could it be reopened? A spokesperson, this is a department spokesperson following the president's statement, saying they're working toward rebuilding and opening Alcatraz to serve as a symbol of law and order. But is it feasible? Some people are laughing at this and saying the buildings are literally falling apart, and a number of reasons as to why this would, there have been, again, it's been closed since 1963, so there have been, it's been preserved then really as a landmark, not as a prison. So there are no cameras, all of the modern, techniques that we use, especially in housing prisoners, has none of that. As to whether or not that's serious, is that doable, the amount of money that will cost. And I have wondered, could you achieve the same kind of thing building elsewhere? Could you achieve the same kind of thing if that's what you're looking for? So that remains a big story this morning. Also, the president and this image of himself as Pope, he was asked about this yesterday. The official White House account posted it on Saturday, and a reporter yesterday said to the president, some Catholics were not so happy about the image of you looking like the Pope. And the president said, oh, I see you mean they can't take a joke. You don't mean the Catholics, you mean the fake news media. The Catholics loved it. That's not entirely true. You had bishops who were responding, so it wasn't just a fake news media. And then he said he didn't create the image and he didn't post it. And I think that's a game changer for me. He didn't create the image. He didn't post it. Somebody in the White House did. And he said, I had nothing to do with it. Somebody made up a picture of me dressed like the Pope. They put it out on the internet. That's not me that did it, the president said. I have no idea where it came from. Maybe it was AI. I know nothing about it. I just saw it last evening. And he said the first lady thought the image was cute. He said, actually, my wife thought it was cute. She said, isn't that nice? Sounds like church. Sounds a little bit like church lady there. Isn't that nice? She said. And the president went on. He said, actually, I would not be able to get married, though. That would be a lot, he said. And he's standing there. He's at the time, he was holding the news conference with the Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, and talking about, what was coming up. And I shared that story with you the other day, with Washington, D.C. and the NFL, draft coming to Washington, D.C., all of this. So Roger Goodell is standing there. He starts to laugh. And the president looks at him and says, to the best of my knowledge, popes aren't big on getting married, are they? But the reporters are always like dogs with a bone. They just don't want to let go of it. And the reporter asked, does the AI image diminish the substance of the official White House account? And Trump said, give me a break. Somebody did it in fun. It's fine. You have to have a little fun, don't you? So that image that was posted, the president made it clear he didn't do it. He didn't create it. He wasn't responsible for it. Somebody on the staff did it. I still think, I stand by my comments yesterday. If you listened to the show yesterday, and again, I just tend to believe, I thought it was done in incredibly bad taste, but I'm also not going to light my hair on fire and run, as if I could, light my hair on fire and run around kicking and screaming and wailing about, what it is, what it is. But I would say, for me, it's a game changer when you learn it wasn't the president who posted that. He knew nothing about it until he saw it. Okay, let's see. There is a big story this morning regarding the founder of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy. And he posted a video on X on Sunday calling for an emergency press conference. He learned about Dave Portnoy you likely know who he is. The guy has got a phenomenal following. And he called for an emergency press conference. He learned about a light up sign in the Barstool Sports owned bar that said, F the Jews. Now, Portnoy is Jewish. And I want you to keep that in mind as you hear this entire story. Portnoy is Jewish. It's not him who was responsible for doing this. It was somebody that worked for him. So he announced to his followers he had fired two waitresses from the bar. And then he revealed that he found the two people who were responsible for this anti-Semitic sign. And at one point, there is a lot that's happened with this over the course of the last few days. And the latest from the New York Post this morning, because he said what he wanted to do was create a teachable moment. And he made an offer to one of the people responsible for this to send them to Auschwitz, right? And now has the person who was responsible lied about a number of things, and it sounds like Portnoy just got so fed up now that, you know, he's like, that's it. I'm, you know, washing his hands of the whole thing. That's a huge story. I mean, it's seeing it everywhere, nearly everywhere that I'm going this morning about what's happening with that. So we won't spend too much time on that today. You can find that story at the New York Post and just about anywhere else you look this morning. Also, the president met with a Russian-American ballerina. She was freed last week as part of a prisoner swap. And there's plenty of video of Trump, and this is Christina Carolina meeting at the White House yesterday. And the president asked her how long she was in jail. She replied 15 months. She was released in exchange for a Russian prisoner, and she lived in Maryland before moving to Los Angeles. And she was arrested when she returned to Russia to visit her family last year. So now she's back home. The president on his True Social account, you know, posted a short video of her on the plane going to meet the president and expressing her appreciation and so on, and also posted some photos of them and video of them at the White House yesterday. That's a big story. There are a number of polls out there that have caught my eye. Rasmussen reports their presidential tracking poll yesterday, showing that Trump's approval is rising. 50% of likely voters now approving of the president's job performance. That's up 3% from the last poll. 34% strongly approve. That's up from the last poll. And as is typical, these polls are about evenly split most of the time. 48% disapproved, but his numbers are going up. Also, this is another poll. Public Opinion Strategy survey found that the vast majority of likely voters want to see those tax cuts extended. They want to see the Trump tax cuts extended. I don't think that's a big surprise, certainly is not to me. A lot of Americans are suffering from financial anxiety, and it's taking a toll on them. This is another poll in the research that was conducted. This is Talker Research. And they found 41% experience chronic physical pain, 70% believing the quality of their mental health is directly linked to their physical health, and a lot of this is money-related stress. So they're stressing over money, and 76% say they feel alone in their efforts then to deal with that stress. So a lot of financial anxiety out there. And one of the reasons is the rising cost of healthcare. You start running into healthcare issues, you know, serious healthcare issues, it can make a difference. Been there. You know, we had some issues. This is in my previous marriage, you know, where my wife at the time, my children, you know, and the financial anxiety and the stress that all of that causes. A lot of Americans are dealing with that. It's an interesting story. That's at the New York Post. It's an unfortunate story. It's one of those things you don't like to hear, but that's totally understandable, I think, for those who have lived it. Also, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday directing the active duty military to shed 20% of its 4-star general officers. Trump administration has been looking to streamline leadership, reduce the number of 4- and 5-star generals, and so Hegseth took that step yesterday, directing them to the active duty military to shed 20% of their 4-star generals. While we're talking about Trump, he is saying he's going to declare national holidays for World War I and World War II. And he said, we will not be closing the country for these two very important holidays. And he said, because we already have too many holidays in America, there are not enough days left in the year. So, in other words, it would be a federal holiday, but you would not see the country closed down. You know, businesses, so on, government would be expected to remain open. There is a very interesting local story to me, and we've talked about, and this is, again, we're talking locally about panhandling. Jody Schwann's got a very interesting piece about a new awareness campaign trying to change people's views regarding panhandling. In other words, don't give them money. Don't give them money. And we'll talk about that coming up a little later this morning. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. Oh, man, what a gorgeous morning. Sunshine, 45. This hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Camp and Robbins, Visa 2, Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
Kello Hotline is sponsored by Kello Tire Diamonds, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Can you spot a stroke? Treatment within 1 hour of a stroke can prevent lifelong disability or save a life. If you notice someone experiencing loss of balance, blurry vision, sudden weakness on one side, or having a problem speaking, call 911 fast. And rely on Avera's stroke services at the Avera Brain and Spine Institute for innovative care. Learn more at avera.org/stroke.
Farmers and ranchers, you work hard every day. The South Dakota Farm Bureau would like to say thank you for everything you do. During the busy spring season, Farm Bureau reminds you to practice safety first. Follow the label, whether you're working with pesticides, vaccinations.
That coffee's going down too smoothly this morning.
Appropriately and wear the proper personal protective equipment. Farmers and ranchers, keep doing the great work that you do. And remember, farm safety is your best investment.
When it comes to preparing for a crisis, it doesn't matter if you're a year early, a month early, or a day early, but you can't be a day late. That's why millions of Americans trust My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest preparedness company. Right now, you can get their 4-week emergency food supply, plus an incredible bonus. 4 free 72-hour food kits. That's an extra 12 days worth of food, absolutely free. This kit provides hearty, delicious meals for 4 weeks with 2,000 plus calories per day, 12 essential vitamins and minerals, and a shelf life of up to 25 years. And for a limited time, they're including 12 additional days of food, absolutely free.
The weather observations, man, partly cloudy. I don't see a cloud in the sky, at least. Now, again, I'm not looking at the entire sky, but I can't see a single cloud.
MyPatriotSupply.com today. MyPatriotSupply.com.
.630. Currently, clear skies in 48. News and information update on the way. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello. See, this is what happens when I start talking to you. I lose track of time.
Federal film tax credit to support American production.
There are a lot of questions to how
All right. Gotta hit this.
would work in practice and how a
That.
produced film would be defined, but it does highlight the reality. Many film and TV productions are moving overseas. Countries all around the world now offer tax credits as high as 35%, and this is luring productions away from the U.S.
Fox's Max Gordon. Germany was supposed to have a new leader sworn in today.
Friedrich Merz was expected to have a smooth passage to the post of Germany's next chancellor, but Merz fell 6 short in the parliamentary vote that would have confirmed him. It's the first time this has happened since the Second World War.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. About 30 pro-Palestinian protesters are arrested at the University of Washington. America's listening to Fox News.
Weather brought to you by Infinity Sedation Dentistry, Sioux Falls. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Authorities are still searching for a man wanted on felony charges in Nebraska and South Dakota. Cody Dittman was identified as the suspect involved in a chase with tribal police in western South Dakota Friday that led to an officer firing at the vehicle. According to the Oglala Sioux Tribe Department of Public Safety, he may have returned to the Pine Ridge area Sunday night. Police have asked residents to secure their homes and cars and called 911 to report any sightings. Dittman is also wanted in Nebraska, where he's accused of assaulting and strangling a pregnant woman last Thursday before heading to South Dakota. A Sioux Falls man has been found guilty of first-degree murder. Darian Johnson was convicted of shooting 26-year-old Kayshawn Tyler to death back in 2022. The judge also convicted him of assault, burglary, and domestic assault. A sentencing date has not yet been set. The South Dakota family's legal battle with the federal government is over, but their story lives on. Now the Trump administration is working to make sure other families aren't subjected to the same kind of legal attack faced by Charles and Heather Maud. The Biden administration charged the Mauds with stealing the use of Forest Service land for their own use and faced prison time and heavy fines. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says her department is taking action.
We will ensure that all similar Biden-era prosecutions against law-abiding Americans are immediately addressed.
The Trump administration dropped the charges against the Mauds last week. And 2 more South Dakota lakes have been added to the state's fish consumption advisory list due to elevated mercury levels found in large walleye. Officials say Dry Lake in Clark County and Lake Henry in Kingsbury County now carry advisories. The guidance is based on mercury concentrations detected in fish tissue samples collected through the state's annual monitoring program. Mercury can pose health risks, especially for pregnant women and children. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Another warm day today. Our high temperature 83 in the Sioux Falls area with an east wind at 5 to 10. For tonight, low temperature 51. Tomorrow, more mild and dry weather, high 77. Back into the upper 70s Thursday, heating up on Friday, highs into the mid 80s. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Whether it's close to home or halfway around the world, we've got you covered. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Okay.
His favorite science fiction movie, Minority Report, predicted a society with a police department that could predict a crime before it happens.
That was a great movie. Minority Report. I really liked it.
AI may very well bring what was science fiction into reality. I'm Jim Commando for ExpressVPN Secure Servers. They reroute my internet connection so all my data is encrypted. Get an extra 4 months free right now at expressvpn.com/Kim. The New York MTA believes that with strategically placed AI cameras in all subways, they can predict when bad things are about to happen. The cameras focus on people's actions, body language, and behavior, not facial recognition. The AI algorithm predicts when someone is about to do something violent or dangerous before the crime is committed. Nearby police would be routed to the scene before anyone's harmed. The film used the word pre-crime, which is exactly what the MTA is working on. Stay tech ahead with my free newsletter at getkim.com. Get this, until the 1990s, the U.S. government classified encryption as a form of munitions, aka dangerous weapons. Encryption is a powerful defensive weapon against an army of bad actors who want to invade your history on the internet and profit off your browsing habits. Now, thankfully, you have the right to defend your online habits with strong encryption using ExpressVPN. It's an app I use to encrypt and reroute my internet connection through secure servers, making my online activity private so no one can monitor, record, manipulate, or profit from it. If you don't encrypt your connection, you expose your online activities. With just one click, ExpressVPN keeps your browsing safe on all your devices, up to 8 with one subscription. Get up to 4 extra months of ExpressVPN for free at expressvpn.com/Kim. That's expressvpn.com/Kim to get those 4 extra months for free. Go now while you're thinking about it. expressvpn.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires. Making your vehicle ride like new. 2 Sioux Falls Tire and Automotive Centers. Visit tires3.com.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen Picture and Combination Windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today. ABC Seamless.
At Bethany Homes, Sioux Falls, Brandon, and Meadows, we believe that our employees are our greatest asset. If you're ready to share your heart and skills, join our Bethany family and be rewarded. Apply on our careers page at mybethanyhome.org. Bethany is church-owned, faith-based, and spiritually guided.
Not everyone who handles your personal information is as careful as you are, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the United States. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock will monitor hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. And if your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com. LifeLock. For the threats you can't control, terms apply.
Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your fixed employee's leaving. You're going to
Excuse me.
of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
News has its own rhythm. You can't predict when it's going to happen. It disregards calendars.
.638. Oh, it's a beautiful morning. Sunshine 48. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's really great to have you along, my friend. This hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Coming up this Saturday night, there's a special memorial benefit dance for Janine Gross. She is the lead singer of Janine and the Machine, and Janine passed away last month. She had been engaged in a long battle with colon cancer. Now, her husband, John, is a longtime listener of mine, and he has been on the program a number of times. He has been during the 4th hour broadcast. He has been a part of that up until recently. Well, this benefit is going to help cover her medical expenses. And this coming up Saturday night, there'll be live music, silent auctions, a free will offering. It's this Saturday night, 7 to 10 at Active Generations in Sioux Falls. And if you want to help out, it would be very, very much appreciated.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, the president yesterday calling for a 100% tariff on foreign movies. Hollywood now seeking answers. And this is in a social media post that the president posted Sunday. Again, he said that the U.S. movie industry dying a very fast death. And he wants to put tariffs then on movies that are made outside of the country, a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. And Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, said, we're on it. So we'll see where that goes. Also, the president over the weekend saying he's directing his government to reopen and expand Alcatraz. And he wrote that on True Social on Sunday evening. And he said, I'm directing the Bureau of Prisons together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. Also, the White House, I mentioned this to you yesterday. I thought it was funny. The president sharing a May 4th image on Star Wars Day. And it was a photo of him, the president, holding a lightsaber surrounded by, and this is like a bulked up Trump. It reminded me of, if you ever read the old Doc Savage books, you ever remember the covers of the Doc Savage books? He just golden skin and man, just muscular and not excessively so, but very muscular Doc Savage. That's exactly what Trump looked like in this image of him holding a lightsaber surrounded by U.S. flags and eagles. And it said, Happy May the 4th to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting so hard to bring Sith Lords, murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and well-known MS-13 gang members back into our galaxy. You're not the rebellion, you're the empire, the message said. Also, Philadelphia police are investigating, and a student at Temple University has been suspended following an anti-Semitic incident at Barstool Sports on Saturday night. So video on social media shows a woman who appears to be a server carrying a sign that bears an anti-Jewish message with profanity, and which guy in the video then repeats a number of times. Dave Portnoy, the owner of Barstool Sports, who himself is Jewish, is not coming from Portnoy, has been responding to this, especially on social media. But as I mentioned, a Temple University student being suspended, the Division of Student Affairs investigating, and they said anyone else found to have been involved will face strict disciplinary action. And the president said, in the strongest terms possible, let me be clear, anti-Semitism is abhorrent. It has no place at Temple, and acts of hatred and discrimination against any person or persons are not tolerated at this university. Number of people who are responding to that, including Dave Portnoy. That's a big story this morning. I suspect that'll be trending again tomorrow because there have been ongoing developments in that story. I heard this yesterday, and you may have as well. I think Clay and Buck were talking about it. Also know the boys were talking about it on Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Dozens of witnesses looking on, horrified, as a U.S. tourist who was visiting Rome accidentally impaled himself on a metal fence, screaming in pain. It's a 47-year-old American living in Taiwan. He was stabbed in the spine while he was trying to climb over the historic monuments fence, and authorities believe he might have been just trying to get a better view, but he was impaled by this metal fence at the Coliseum. Wow. You just can't imagine what that must be like. Also, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday ordering a minimum 20% reduction of 4-star generals and admirals across the military. And he addressed this to senior Pentagon leadership. He also ordered at least 20% of general officers in the National Guard, 10% of all flag and general officers to be cut, he said. Also, Education Secretary Linda McMahon discussing her efforts then to resume collections on defaulted student loans. So millions of student loan borrowers in default will start receiving notices, and they did yesterday, started receiving notices that they are being put into collections. The Department of Education said last month that it's trying to protect U.S. taxpayers from shouldering the cost of federal student loans that borrowers willingly undertook to finance their education. And there are a number of stories. There's also a piece at Daily Caller. Charles Payne, who's a host at Fox Business, tore into people who were taking advantage of the Biden administration's decisions then to defer or forgive student loans. And Charles Payne said yesterday, time to pay your damn student loans, which is absolutely true. Also, regulators are accusing TikTok of secretly sending user data to China. And TikTok is facing nearly a $600 million fine for illegal data transfers to China. And the Data Protection Commissioner, one of the deputy commissioners there, is saying that TikTok failed to verify, guarantee, and demonstrate that the personal data of users was afforded a level of protection essentially equivalent to that guaranteed within the EU. Also, Charlie Scalise, who is a character actor who was on The Wire and The Sopranos, he has passed away. He was 84 years old. Scalise died last week. He died Thursday in a nursing facility in Pennsylvania. And his daughter says he had a long battle with Alzheimer's. So he appeared on all 12 episodes of HBO's The Wire as Horseface. And again, he was on The Sopranos. So Charlie Scalise has died at the age of 84. You remember the story I shared with you earlier this week? This man who fell from, and I think this actually happened last week. Yeah. The man who fell from the top of that 21-foot high wall onto the warning track at PNC Park. This was during that game, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago Cubs last week. Remember this? Kavon Markwood. And he's awake now. And there have been GoFundMe efforts for him. Jennifer Phillips organizing a fundraiser for him. And she says Markwood has made significant progress since being admitted to the trauma center. And she said after everything he's been through since the accident, this progress feels nothing short of miraculous. He still has a long road ahead of him, but today brought a moment of hope that we have been holding on to. So that GoFundMe, and these are dollar amounts from over the weekend, so they're sorely outdated, but I think they had raised like $27,000, and that was over the weekend. And that story has been trending then just about every day since. Also, the Baltimore Ravens have released All-Pro kicker Justin Tucker. He's facing allegations of inappropriate sexual behavior by more than a dozen massage therapists in the Baltimore area. So the Ravens have released him, and they said it was a football decision. And the general manager of the team said sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances. Considering our current roster, we made this tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Also, NBA playoffs. The Warriors made it more complicated. They're rocketing to the Western Conference semifinals. Number 7 seeded Golden State completed the first round NBA playoff series upset of the Houston Rockets Sunday. This was at Toyota Center. They beat the number 2 seed pretty handily in Game 7. Also, the Winnipeg Jets are heading to the second round after a major rally in Game 7. The Jets beat the St. Louis Blues 4-3 in a second overtime Sunday night, with a goal then to set up a meeting with the Dallas Stars. Also, Sean Diddy Combs' jury selection continues. So the USA Today says the day of reckoning has arrived for Sean Diddy Combs. His trial and a range of sexual assault charges could result in him spending the rest of his life behind bars. So that story is trending nearly every day. Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, so the trending stories tend to lag a little bit behind. So there are still a number of stories trending on Cinco de Mayo, which was yesterday. Also, a former Biden administration State Department budget analyst has pled guilty after being accused of embezzling over $650,000 over 2 years. Oh, and there's no waste in government, I'm sure. The $650,000 over a 2-year period. And this is a 64-year-old who wrote 60 checks to herself, 3 to someone she had a personal relationship with. She held the signature authority over a State Department checking account. So she was actively stealing the funds between March of 22 and April of 24. Also, that Michigan Democrat, who's a bit of a goofy, U.S. Representative Thandar, announcing yesterday that he had, he announced that he had filed 7 articles of impeachment against Trump. And there's a video from 2010, and this is what's new. You know about the impeachment efforts. Democrats are running it as fast as they can away from that. And especially the more we learn about this guy, there's a video from 2010, shows more than 100 dogs being freed after being neglected. And it's resurfaced on social media since he revealed he was filing these articles of impeachment against Trump. So all of these beagles and all of this news about him and his background now is coming to light as a result of him filing those impeachment orders. Also, other stories that are trending. There's some international stories. Israel approved plans yesterday to seize the Gaza Strip, and that they will stay in the Palestinian territory for an unspecified amount of time, according to a couple of Israeli officials. And they said this would vastly expand Israel's operations there. Also, Israeli officials confirmed that the Israeli Air Force carrying out strikes in Yemen's port city, or I should say a port city in Yemen. This is in response to that Houthi airport strike that we saw over the weekend, and wounded a number of people. And so Israel now is really striking back. Also trending this morning, a fight during a crowded dance party outside a Glendale restaurant earlier this month escalated into a gun battle in the parking lot, and it led to the deaths of 3 people, including a minor. So people were being kicked out of the restaurant because they had started fighting inside. And once they got in the parking lot, they started firing gunshots. So there were 3 people who died, and a local group called on a Sunday afternoon was hosting a Cinco de Mayo celebration at the restaurant when the shooting happened. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Sunshine at 48, this hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
There's interesting news talk station with the power of information.
Well, thank you so much for letting me join you this morning. Always good to see you. Please come back. Please, please. I have no friends. I have nobody. Please come back at 9:30 for the 4th hour. I hope to see you then. Otherwise, you take care. See you again soon.